Eyewitness News at 6. Coverage you can count on.
We begin with the devastation in the Pacific. An 8.9 magnitude earthquake hit Japan today, triggering a massive tsunami.
Hundreds are dead, hundreds more still missing. Officials say the death toll will continue to rise, and they believe it will top 1,000.
Scientists say the quake is the strongest one to ever hit Japan. It ranks as the 5th largest tremor in the world since 1900. Now, the video of the destruction looks like a scene right out of a Hollywood movie. Cars, homes, and ships swept away by the tide.
The storm spread to all parts of the Pacific, reaching residents in Hawaii, Canada, and the U.S. West Coast. Tonight, President Obama is pledging assistance following what he called a potentially catastrophic disaster.
We have live in-depth coverage tonight. Eyewitness News reporter Sean Daly is standing by.
But first, let's get to Alex DiPrato, who spoke with one North Providence family whose son is stationed actually in Japan.
Even though their son is hundreds of miles away from where their earthquake struck, he felt the tremors and saw a small tsunami. He called his parents here in North Providence to let them know what was going on. It was 4 a.m. when the phone rang.
Well, I knew something was very wrong for him to call that time of the morning.
After 5 tries, Jonathan Normandin finally got through to his mom.
What was I thinking, honestly, with the way the world is? I was concerned we went to war again with somebody else, to be honest with you.
Normandin is a chief petty officer on the USS George Washington and woke up his parents to tell them he was okay after the earthquake and tsunami.
At least he told us, that he was fine and his family is fine. So, it relieves some of the anxiety there, but we still had major concerns.
Normandin is stationed south of Tokyo, about 300 miles from the epicenter, and was on board the aircraft carrier. But his home, he shares with his wife and daughter, was damaged.
There was some damage in the house as far as glass and things knocked out of the cabinets and stuff like that.
The conversation was short but reassuring because Normandin was on duty, and now his parents wait for his next call. And Normandin's parents expect that call sometime tonight. He's been stationed in Japan for 6 years. In North Providence with the Mobile Newsroom, I'm Alex DiPrato, Eyewitness News.
We have in-depth coverage of the devastation in the Pacific tonight. There are still warnings and advisories in place throughout the Pacific.
Tonight, we caught up with one Warwick woman who has 2 loved ones who live in that area. Eyewitness News reporter Sean Daly has the details live in Warwick with the West Bay Mobile Newsroom.
So far, so good, but a woman here in Warwick could face double trouble. She has a sister in Hawaii and a son in Vancouver, British Columbia, north of Seattle.
There's my son and his daughter and his wife. And there's my son's wife and the baby.
Victoria Hay at home in Warwick showing Eyewitness News pictures of her 39-year-old son who lives with his young daughter in Vancouver, British Columbia. Her sister lives on the island of Oahu in Hawaii.
It was almost like stereo, Hawaii on one side and Vancouver on the other. And I'm going, who's all right?
It turns out both her son and her sister are all right. So far.
Sometimes there's one wave and then there may be another. So I don't know what the time span is, but I heard something about hours.
Despite the ongoing uncertainty, the stress level is at least falling, not rising.
I was so stressed out this morning, I didn't know which way to fly.
Tell me.
Tell you what? Which way to fly? I didn't know. I was so concerned. I kept on calling people and everything, and it was such time difference. I called my sister. It must have been 3 times in Hawaii.
Worrying here in Warwick about her sister and her son far away. Live with the Mobile Newsroom, Sean Daly, Eyewitness News.
We have pinpoint weather team coverage of the devastation in the Pacific.
Chief Meteorologist Tony Petracca joins us now with an in-depth look of the behavior of the tsunamis and how they're actually tracked.
Well, Susan and Mike, a tsunami is created, as mentioned, by an earthquake on the ocean floor. And quite simply, what happens is below the ocean floor literally buckles and folds. It's what we call a subluxation. And what it does is it displaces a tremendous amount of water, a volume of water upward. That creates the bump in the ocean and then eventually the wave that propagates out in all directions. Now, this wave can travel thousands of miles at several hundred miles per hour. But once it it approaches a coastline, the speed of the wave slows down, and the magnitude of the wave height is determined by the shape and the geography of that particular coastline that the wave is traveling. Now, NOAA scientists actually have computers that can project where these tsunami waves will go and the height. And here's an example of the quake that happened in Japan and what the NOAA scientists were looking at. These darker strips of red and purple indicate the largest waves and the direction that the wave was forecast to propagate. Here is Japan, here's the west coast of the United States, and the cone of energy was traveling off in this direction, not towards the west coast of the United States, but rather towards Hawaii and points further south and east. So while Hawaii and the west coast did receive some wave energy, the bulk of it traveled in this direction, and that was fortunate for the west coast of the United States, but obviously the damage was severe in Japan, and even a 7-foot wave reported on the island of Maui. Mike and Susan?
All right, thank you, Tony. You can count on Eyewitness News for in-depth coverage of the devastation in the Pacific. Go to our website, WDPRI.com. There, we have a link to the Red Cross donation site.
You can also find a site that helps you locate loved ones and friends in the area, plus a photo gallery of all the pictures of the destruction.